Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. I know we're still gathering. It's okay. Still have plenty of time to gather. I have to look far right towards Danielle, and then far left over towards Nina. I'm not one of those try to force everybody together teachers. I know you have your assigned seat for church. Just hope God doesn't turn that into an assigned seat in heaven. Those of you who decided to sit on the flanks all the time, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, you're doing it for the air, huh? And I know we're live, Facebook people, but we always have a little fun in the morning before we get going. Has everybody had a good week? Does anybody want to say you had a bad week? That's okay too.
What size is your television now?
What's that?
The size of your television screen.
What's the size of my television screen? Mike.
You told me you always got the largest.
No, that's now my son who does that, my older son. I did say that to you? No, there's a formula. 65 inches, the biggest I have in the living room.
So you just have 10 inches to go. I was wondering if you guys over Walmart, I saw those.
Yeah.
And that's what size you had now. I figured it would be the same size.
No, not yet. I go by the formula that they give you, how far away you sit and so forth. My sons are the one that don't care. Trevor has a 100-inch in his living room. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. Probably. But they're sports people. They like to watch sports all the time. You don't still have my old one, do you? You don't still have my old one, do you?
No, I actually do. I sent it out and no one would take it. Then I decided I wanted to take the screen off. I've seen experiments with it where they're using it to kill bugs.
Okay.
Like the sun, and so I was thinking about making one of those. I keep it long enough to get that.
No worries, it's all good. It's almost 20. That thing would almost be 20 years old by now. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's fixable life still money in it. Just the others are so cheap now.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt.
Is Ron here?
Who?
What?
He's talking about you.
I couldn't hear him.
Yes, he can. He's just saying it.
No, I can't see
But you
him.
go forward.
All right, well, let's break in. We're going to put Psalm, where were we? Psalm 37. Sorry, I've been deep in the other ones this week. Huh? At least, yeah, somebody knows, right? We're going to put that one to the side and jump into something new this week, into Psalm 67. And before we dive into that, I want to ask you an opening question. When you ask God to bless you, what usually comes to mind? I do need a microphone runner. Sorry, I don't see Casey. Casey, hurry up. Here he comes. And choke up nice and high. Remember, way up at the top, as that one still may have a few issues. But yes, my question before we start Psalm 67 is, when you ask God to bless you, what usually comes to mind? Anybody raise their hand want to answer that question?
I have a question.
Yep.
What was the question?
The question is, when you ask God to bless you, what usually comes to mind? Well, let me get that started, I guess. Health usually comes to mind. You want blessings in health, okay? Whether you are healthy and you want to remain that way, or whether something has come along and you are in an unhealthy state and you would like healing and you want that to be a blessing, okay? So that's something that comes to mind right off the bat for me, is that type of blessing. What others can you think of that you ask for when you're asking God for blessing? Okay, I heard peace. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, Donnie, you got to use the mic so everybody can hear you. No one heard Austin on the YouTube.
I had you talk.
I did. Sometimes I try to repeat. Yes, Donna?
For 66 years, I've been married to Richard and just lived with him. I've been married to him. Every day for 66 years, I've asked God to let us grow together. Now, he's 86 and I'm 84, and God has blessed me with answering that prayer.
Okay.
I still pray that we'll grow old together because I'm planning on being a little older.
That's awesome. That's great. So you do that every single day? Okay, there you go. That's a great answer to the question. Yes, love that. Keep going. Brother Jim? Yes, sir.
My big thing each morning and each evening when I'm in prayer, the big thing I ask for, that whatever I do from the beginning to the end, may it always, whatever I do, whatever I say, whatever I do, that it glorify God in all I think, and that His Spirit will always call on, correct me if I've strayed from the thing. But I want to glorify God in whatever I do.
It's a little fast forwarding to Psalm 67, by the way. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Yes.
I am more selfish. I'm thinking, I'm praying every day that my husband's pain is less and less. And
Okay.
then sometimes I even throw in myself and the pains that come with old age.
Okay, I like that. For physical ailments to go away or to be better. That's a great blessing to ask God for. Yes, ma'am?
I pray for family members that have not obeyed the gospel or who has strayed away from the gospel.
Okay. Do you do that often? I like that. Good. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to take that question just a little bit deeper, okay, because it really helps us with Psalm 67. So, if we're seeking God's blessings for ourselves, can that become self-centered? If we're praying and seeking things for ourselves, can that become self-centered? So, yes, it can. Austin said yes without the microphone. So, yes, Jim, go ahead, please. I asked the question, and I got to stop talking.
Okay. Well, I talk a lot. But anyway, it's all depending on what you're praying for yourself. To be a better person, to be a more godly person, that's nothing wrong with it. But if you're praying for things that for your own self-satisfaction in a worldly sort of way, then that would be wrong.
Okay? In a worldly sort of way, possession-oriented?
It's where you say, I got a big boat, I want a bigger boat. Hey, I thought of that one time. I bought me a real nice boat. I fitted it, and I'm out on the water. I see these bigger, and it's a big boat, and I see these bigger ones, and I started thinking, they move around better than I. So that's a problem.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I love that. That's just the bigger boat idea, right? We started this class with a bigger TV. Mike, thanks a lot, putting me on notice up here. Appreciate that. No, I'm just kidding you. Yeah, that's exactly right. You get down the path of wanting and wanting and wanting. That's material things, okay? Agree. So we have to be careful with not doing that in our prayer life. And I'm not out here looking at you saying, oh my word, every single one of you, your prayers are self-centered. But Psalm 67 does show us that you have to be careful with a self-centered approach to your prayer life. And your prayer life should always need to be bigger than that. Does that mean you don't pray for things for yourself? No, we just established that. Okay? That is okay to do. But it's okay to pray bigger than that on a very regular basis. And again, that's what Psalm 67 is definitely about. But before I go on with that, to add to that other question about being self-centered, how do you stop that? How do you guard against that? By simply ensuring that your prayers are bigger than yourself on a regular basis? So the question is, how do you guard against having your prayers be too self-centered? Yes, sir.
So for a while, I wouldn't pray for myself in regards to earthly possessions, but what I've been doing more recently is saying, if it be God's will, not mine. Because I can pray for a house to start a family in if it's God's will. I would love that. I would love to have that. But if it's not in His time or in His choice, so be it. It still takes action for me to look for that and to agree with the wife. But in all things considered, it's up to God.
Yeah, to add into your prayers, so the guard against that self-centered idea of prayer is to say, God, if this be your will, then I'm going to accept what your answer or non-answer is in whatever situation you may come up with. I love that. I love the idea of adding into your prayers. Hey, and that's how Jesus told us to pray, right? Your will be done. Okay, he asked us to pray that way on a regular basis. Yes, that's a great way to guard against any type of self-centered nature of your prayer life, all right? Is any other thoughts on that before I move on? Because we haven't even read Psalm 67, but this is exactly where I wanted to go, all right? And please, understand me when I tell you the difference between it's okay to pray for blessings for yourself as long as you're under the idea you're going to be careful with that and not take it too far. Okay? Trust me, I've been guilty of being self-centered in my prayer life. When younger and even now. Okay? So the other thing, and let's be gut honest here, because I will answer this question, yes. Okay? Do you sometimes, when you're going into your prayer zone, which according to Scripture is supposed to be all the time, right? Pray everlastingly. Do you ever think for a second, well, for this prayer, I really don't know what to pray for? You ever think that? I see some head nodding. Okay, I'm entering my prayer zone and nothing's coming to mind. I think that's all right. But I know all of you well enough. You don't stop yourself there. You go, no, I know what to pray for. Here I go. Then you start pouring it out. You start pouring it out. So yes, we got some head nodding. I'm nodding my head yes. Okay. And then you instantly, I think that's Holy Spirit, right? Holy Spirit comes in there and says, well, God said you were going to have a helper. Here comes that helper, Joel, to make you pray for anything that's on your mind. Okay? Haven't we studied and understood in these past few Psalms that God knows every single thought before we think it? He knows every single sound before we speak it. He knows every single answer before we get it. He knows every single non-answer before we don't get it, even before we think about it here in 2025 or what happened 20 years ago or what's going to happen 20 years from now. He already knows. But we've studied and read and understood that He wants us to pour it out to Him no matter what. So my prayer is that we never say, I don't really know what to pray for today, God. And maybe Psalm 67 is going to help us with that. So very, very short psalm. I'm going to read it to you this morning. And again, we're studying these under the idea of how do we continue on in step 6 of our salvation steps, living faithfully, where the Bible has an answer for every single thing. And this theme is when your prayers grow narrow and selfish. Now, you may read this and go, Joel, how's that have anything to do with a self-centered prayer life? Because this psalm is big. It's short, but it's big, okay? It's big, it's out there from a world view, all right? So I'll read that to you. Again, Psalm 67. May God be gracious to us and bless us and make his face shine upon us, that your ways may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. May the peoples praise you, O God, may all the peoples praise you. May the nations be glad and sing for joy, for your rule the peoples justly and guide, for you rule the peoples justly and guide the nations of the earth. May the peoples praise you, O God, may all the peoples praise you. Then the land will yield its harvest, and God, our God, will bless us. God will bless us, and all the ends of the earth will fear him. Do you see some bigness in this psalm? And this is an unknown author song, by the way. We really don't know who wrote it down. I tried to look for that all week long, and every study I came across was an unknown. So, do you see the bigness in here? Help me with that a little bit. Where do you see the bigness of this psalm when it comes to prayer life? And if you want to point out a verse, that's okay. Anybody see some bigness? Somebody count how many times it says the word peoples. There's a lot, by the way. A lot of peoples. You see in this psalm talking about all the peoples of the earth and how, as an individual, we want God to do everything he can to take care of those peoples, all of the peoples, right? Verse 1 is about the us. The rest of it is about everybody else. And so the idea of if your prayer life gets a little too you-focused, it's okay to have a prayer life that focuses on everybody else around you, okay? This is a great missionary psalm. I'm so happy here at Saginaw Church that we have missionaries that we support. And I'm so happy that we recently had a team that went to Thailand to get connected to Patinia and everything that was going on there. It was incredible and great and needed. And every time I think about that trip and how we support missionaries, Psalm 67 comes to mind, because it's all about the other people. It's not about us, okay? So the psalm quickly transitions from all about us in verse 1 to about everybody else, okay? So again, the idea of no narrow prayers. Talk to me a little bit about verse 4. May the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you rule the peoples justly and guide the nations of the earth. What do you think that means? You guide the people, or you rule the people justly. And don't think about 2,000 years ago. Remember, the other reason for these type of studies that we're doing is, how does this apply in 2025? So what do you think that verse is talking about? For you rule the peoples justly.
I think that in any country in the world, I think murder's wrong in every country, basically. So basically,
you think what's wrong? I'm sorry.
Murder is wrong
in
no
every
matter
country.
what type of government you have. There's a basic moral code set by God, and the governments that He's established is enforcing those laws.
No matter what, right? That God is still finding a way to rule justly. Yes. Bill?
This version says he rules them with equity, which means he rules all people equally. Nobody is above the other, I think, because God created us all the same. And so when it says with equity, it means we're all equal in God's sight.
Yes. Here in 2025, Do we kind of start hearing the idea that God doesn't do that? Oh, yes, we do. That because of where this person lives, they're going to get a little bit different treatment. Because of this person's lifestyle, they're going to get different treatment from God. Because of whatever you can think of, God is going to be different to certain people as he is to other people. And I think this psalm definitely, and Bill, thank you, I think this psalm says no, everybody's going to be ruled justly. Okay? Does that mean that there's hope for Iran? Now becoming one of the most fearful nations on our planet today. Okay? And Syria, who we talked about over the past few weeks, is now a country where Christians are openly persecuted and put to death because of what their religion is. Is there hope for Syria? Yes, according to Psalm 67, okay, there's hope, but there's also the idea that God's going to provide equal justice. He's going to rule justly in those situations, all right? And that's where your prayer life can get big if you're under the idea that if it ever comes to your mind, I don't know what to pray for, we're going to pray for global blessings on everyone. We're blessed. Let those global blessings go towards everybody here in Psalm 67, all right? In my notes, I wrote down, we are blessed to be a blessing. What does that mean? We are blessed to be a blessing according to this psalm. We are blessed to be a blessing.
We're supposed to pay it forward.
Okay, so I'll say what Austin said. Austin says we're supposed to pay it forward. Yes. Okay? Yes. We are supposed to live a life like Christ so people will gravitate toward you and say, Austin, why are you the way you are? Okay? How come I never see you, Austin, treating people badly, talking about people behind their back, wishing ill will towards others? I'm just using Austin because he talked last. So, and if anybody was to ever ask you that question, you could easily say, I am trying my hardest to live a life of Christ, and he has blessed me so richly and so incredibly that I want to pass that on to other people. Let's go and have a conversation about that. Have we talked about planting seeds in this class? There's you a seed to plant right there to say that I'm blessed to be a blessing to those around me, and I know we pray for this, the community around me, the state around me, the country, the world around me. When someone prays that prayer, I think that's amazing and incredible. That is Psalm 67 coming to life right there. Okay? A big view of God. Now, quick side note. Chuck, I know you saw this. I don't know how many hymns are in this psalm right here that we derive, our songs that we sing today from, but there's 2 or 3 at least that I could come up with. That's pretty cool to see that as well. So do you see that in this psalm? Is it kind of evident? The big picture of a prayer life, the big picture of blessings in the world around us. Because don't forget, old 2 Peter. 2 Peter tells us we have to be extraordinarily patient for not only ourselves, but every single person and nation around us, because he wants every single person to have the opportunity to come to Christ. And that's why he hasn't come back yet, for that particular reason. And I think Psalm 67 helps us with that idea that we do have to be patient as well. And it's okay to pray in that mindset. Perfect. Any other thoughts, ideas, questions on Psalm 67? Because we got a bonus psalm that I didn't tell you to read, but we're going to go there. And again, if you do have thoughts and ideas on Psalm 67, please let me know. It's okay to go backwards if you want to. But we are going to switch gears. We're going to go to Psalm 126. Psalm 126. Now, before we go to Psalm, I got to get there, hold on. Another shorty that we don't know who wrote. Okay, raise your hand if you have a job. Or raise your hand if you're retired from your employment. I figured a lot of hands go up for that one, okay? All right, good. Can anybody tell me and raise their hand, I won't call you out or I won't make you talk, but can anybody raise their hand and say, during my entire career, I never had any stress and I never had any problems and my job was always 100% easy and God 100% took care of me? Can you raise your hand with that? The last part, I'm glad you guys caught that, right? The last part of that, I'm so glad that you caught, yes. Nobody's raising their hand, okay? Nobody's raising their hand. So we've all had stress at work. Anybody ever had a bad boss? Raise your hand if you've had a bad boss. Just one. Okay, or just one, right? Anybody ever have a great boss? Or a great boss's boss, or boss's boss all the way up the chain? Okay, that's good. We've kind of had that full experience and that full gamut. Hey, trust me, my job, I'm not a brain surgeon. Okay, ever heard that joke? Hey, I have this job in this career, but it's not brain surgery. Or it's not rocket science. Ever heard that phrase before? There's an interesting skit, I don't remember what show it came from, where there's a party going on and there actually is a brain surgeon and a rocket science at the party, and they're going around talking about the stress of their job, and they go, oh, it's not brain surgery, as he's talking to the brain surgeon, you know? Or it's not rocket science as you're talking to the rocket science. But yes, we've all had kind of stresses at work, right? We've always had that bad boss. We've had good bosses, we've had great careers, everything in between. And Psalm 126 sort of kind of helps us with that. When work is discouraging, you can go to Psalm 126, all right? So, understanding the idea that, hey, work can be discouraging, we want things to be better, let's read Psalm 126 and kind of see where that helps us out a little bit. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were like men who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like streams in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. He who goes out of weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with him. Now, a little bit of background about this psalm. Nice and short, sweet, right to the point, okay? Again, no author that I could find, but I did find a little history about this psalm. This was apparently something that the Jews would sing on their travels going to, sorry, hold on. This is something that the Jews would sing in travels around the Holy Land, stuff like that, when they're coming and going. But also the idea of in a constant state of remembering when the Jews were delivered from exile. Okay? And what a joyous time that was. When the Jews were put into captivity, did God tell them that that was going to happen? Yes. Okay? Did God tell them that they were going to get out of there someday? Yeah. Okay? So, in this one, now that they're out, they're excited about that. To the point, what do they do in verse 1? They dream. They're okay? Great dreams are wonderful, aren't they? We love having positive, happy dreams. We wake up in the morning, I just had the best dream in the whole wide world. And we like that. And Psalm 126 has the captives coming out of captivity, and they were like men who dreamed. Has anyone ever, can you raise your hand if you thought you've had that dream job? Or you did have your dream career? And does anybody want to talk to it? Why you thought it was your dream job and dream career? That's kind of the connection here.
Old Faithful is here. Yes, I worked for Bell Helicopter, and I worked in everybody wanted in that department, and the Lord brought me into that department because I didn't have the qualifications.
Which department?
Oh, it was spares engineering. My whole job was, I read maps, studied the maps, and what I did, I went on trips, recommended spare parts for countries, individuals. Canada's where I went. They buy a block of ships, and one of my jobs was go up there and recommend to them the spare parts, depending on how they're going to use the ships. The other part of my job was to break down drawings and where people do the IPCs, individual parts breaks down for this, and I would do this, and everybody wanted it. We had great insurance. I had a good boss, and that boss I said about, but it was just a wonderful job. Everybody was trying to get in there, and now you have to have a degree to get in. At that time, it was just, I just got a good break. I prayed, and the job opened up for me, and I went in there. And the key to it was everybody wanted, they have seniority under a union, so they wanted someone below them. The more they can get below her, the safer they were.
Yeah.
So this was the blessing I was getting, that everybody was wanting to make sure I passed so I get below them in case of things.
Okay.
So it was a great job.
Okay, that's awesome. That's verse 5 and 6, okay? You reaped with songs of joy because you had a great career. Love that, okay? Now, and also, at the end of 6 as well, songs of joy because of your work. Now, the first parts of 5 and 6 is when things ain't going too well, okay? Anybody had a terrible state in their career where it's just like, oh, I can't deal with another day and another week and another bad boss and another whatever? Yes, Gayanne?
Mine was a little bit different than that. I was working for a vice president, and I was very happy with it, and a new president came on board where I worked, and guess who got booted? The vice president I worked for. So I was fully expecting to lose my job. And he and I were both on the same day at different times called down to the president's office. And he was fired, and I was hired in the president's office. So I was about to throw up going down there because I didn't know what to expect. And I was inwardly shouting with joy that I had been blessed because I was hired, fully expecting to be fired.
Wow. So you had some pretty quick tears and weeping that transferred over to joy and happiness. You're verse 5 and 6 of Psalm 126. Yes. There you go. Okay. So no matter how discouraging work can be, God will have an answer for you. All right? Right now, I'm involved in several work projects that are all due May the 30th, every single one of them. And on June the 1st, if they're not done, everything kind of goes back to scratch. We have to start over again, okay? And it's pretty stressful right now. There's a lot of high visibility. And as I prepared for this lesson, I'm thinking about the times I'm in right now. The ends of the day there's like, I got to be done and put this to the side and not be so wrapped up in it. But it's hard because when all eyes are on you to get something done, you got to get things done. And executives at my company, they don't sleep. They're always in their email. They're always texting. They're always wanting to know the update. Now, luckily, I'm down in the lower levels. I don't have to worry about that, but usually it trickles down. And so every Monday morning for me lately is a big, long list of, should I check my email on Friday night and Saturday morning and Sunday? No, I don't try to do that if I don't have to. If someone wants to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of me. But that's going on right now. And Shelley and I have had conversations. I'm like, hey, I can't wait till June the 1st. I want to take the whole month off. Everything's done. I'm finished. It's over. But those things happen. But we have to be in a mindset that God will take care of us, good, bad, or ugly in our careers, and things will work out, okay? Things will work out. I love how Mr. King always reminds me that ultimately it will really work out, and we get the ultimate rest that Jesus describes in Matthew, And I can't, we all can't wait for that, right? The ultimate rest period to be able to get that. You kind of see that in Psalm 26 as well. So yeah, just a little quick hit psalm on the idea of when your work is stressful, discouraging. There's a bigger picture, there's a bigger purpose. We can definitely reap with joy if we're in a state of tears and sadness. Now, you can also attach this psalm to your day-to-day Christian walk. And hey, if you want to be the seed planter to others and you're asking for that blessing, well, you better be ready if God gives you that answer to say, you know what, I'm going to start lining up the people in front of you. Because this also says we need to be prepared that if we want to be better in spreading the gospel or whatever may come to mind with that you've got to be prepared for that answer, because God's going to help you reap with songs of joy through that process. So be ready. Any other thoughts on Psalm 126? I got one more bonus psalm that you didn't know about. Back up a little bit to Psalm 121. Another shorty that we don't know who wrote it. Okay? This one is also a little more focused on travel when you're away from home. Do I have anybody in here who, before you get on an airplane and you're walking down the jetway, before you get on the airplane, you make sure you reach way out and touch it on the outside and say a little prayer that God takes care of you on that plane? I don't do it all the time, but I do it sometimes. It's like, hey, my fingerprint's on the outside of this sucker now, okay? God, please keep this in the air. Right? So, did anybody grow up, or do you now, before you travel, do you say a prayer to God for your travel? Okay. I see some head nods. On that. That's really, really good. Okay? I think it's interesting, though, and if you do, that's great. Before you get up and get out into the morning commute or get out into this crazy traffic, we probably don't pray for that as much. But if you do long distances, we're usually always praying for that safe travel. Protect us, Lord. Bring us back to our very comfortable home when I'm going to be in a place that's very uncomfortable to me. So Psalm 121 is all about that. So let me read that to you, and we'll point some of those things out for God's safety during travel. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. So, great psalm to think about when you're on the road and traveling, okay? It's a great psalm to think about when you're on Interstate 40 and you're heading west and the 18-wheelers are just coming by you at 90 miles an hour, or you happen to be at equal speed with one. And I know my wonderful wife, one of the things she thinks about more than anything is that wheel going to explode right here next to me, okay? And she will graciously tell me, hey, will you speed up just a little bit so we can get past this guy? Or will you slow down just a little bit so you can get past this guy? Well, I'm going to start saying, okay, well, let's get out Psalm 121 because God's going to take care of us and protect us. And again, here you get a little of the idea of fearful of things at night, right? Nighttime can be scary. Anybody afraid of the dark? Yeah, being afraid of the dark is okay. I think I've mentioned this class before. I'm afraid of my own darkness right outside my back door, because it can be so dark. It's like, oh, I want to get back inside where I feel safe. But traveling and having to deal with things at night can be even scarier. Okay? Raise your hand if you were in the military and you had to get deployed to a foreign country. Okay, that's not me. I didn't do that. Okay, was that scary, Mr. King?
Yes, very much so.
Thank you.
Saudi Arabia and doing the Iraq-Iran conflict, all that kind of good stuff. It's definitely not a place I want to be very long.
Yeah.
So I was there, and it's such a foreign country. Custom and well, it's just so foreign.
Yeah.
To Christianity, so it's a different world.
Yeah. And Psalm 121 easily connects to that, okay? Whether it be back in Old Testament times where this originates from, or whether it be 2025 or whenever, still 100% applicable, right? Okay. Any other thoughts on this incredible short psalm to protect us at all times? Well, listen, I'm going to stop there. We've got worship here in just about 15 minutes. Perfect opportunity to stop. Thank you for speaking and discussing. Great class. Let me see if I can give you some homework. Psalm 51. Psalm 51, when you have sin in your life. Psalm 51. Okay? If you don't have sin in your life, you don't have to come next week. Okay? You're exempt. Better not be empty. That's for sure. Yes, Psalm 51, read that, and then I may have a couple other little surprises next week. Thank you very much. Let's get our minds prepared for our worship hour this morning. Thank you so much for being here.